Okay, guys, we're going to take a look at your assignment 4, and you guys are basically going to be utilizing Photoshop and Illustrator for this final project. I just wanted to go over a few things. The instructor basically will go step by step in their lecture on how to go about approaching this project. But I just wanted to go over a few things in this quick video just to give you some quick tips and things to think about. So in this prompt, basically you have two parts, and the first part is just choosing a client. So go ahead and download that zip folder on your actual computer. Look through all of your clients, choose the one that is the most interesting to you, and then go throughout each of these steps to complete your backside of your business card. So basically part 1 is choosing your client, and then basically choosing the image in Photoshop, creating your layers, anything that you want to do with your backside of your card. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the 5th client, which is the photographer. And I went ahead and opened that image up, the JPEG image, in Photoshop. So the first thing that you want to do is just go ahead and check the color mode. So go up to your image and choose mode. And you want to make sure that this is changed to CMYK at the very end before you export to place into Illustrator. RGB mode is for web use and CMYK is for print use. So I'm going to leave that alone right now, but that's definitely a step that we need to do right before we export it out as a TIFF file. So we're going to go image size first, and also check the size here. So the resolution for this particular image is 72 pixels per inch, which is for web use. So we need to change that to 300. That's considered high resolution for print. But the only thing that you need to really pay attention to when you type in and rechange the resolution, you got to make sure that the inches make sense for the project. So right now, since I changed it to 300%, I got to make sure I hit resample after I do that, so that the width and the height resamples to what that would be once you convert or change it to 300. So we're basically we're giving it more pixels per inch. It's condensing that image, so you can see that the size went down considerably. It's still really big. But that's what you want to see. Now, a standard business card size, excuse me, is about 3.5 inches wide by 2 inches tall. So you can see here that the image is extremely large for that. And you can tell also the image size, not only is the inches large, but the size of the file is large. It's 68.7 megabytes. So we want to make sure we just make it more of the size of the business card, so that not only is the size correct, but also the image size isn't so huge, because you will have problems uploading this. So what I would suggest is I would change the height. I would go about 3 inches, or maybe even just, well, I would do 3. You can go over a little bit of what the standard size of the card is, just because you can have a bleed on your card. And the bleed is if you have this image pretty much bleeding off on all 4 sides, meaning that image is meeting to the trim edge, you have space to have the bleed. So if the press, once it goes to the print press, if at any time the paper shifts on the press, you won't have a white gap there. So just make sure that you're sizing that. Now look what happened to my resolution when I did that. It actually went super high. So we want to make sure that that stays at 300. So I clicked on resample. So we want to change the size to about 4.5 inches wide by 3 at 300 pixels per inch. Now look at the size. It used to be 68.7 megabytes. Now it's 3.4 megabytes. That's huge. That's a huge difference. So click OK when you're done, and you'll notice it gets a little smaller, but right now I'm at 33% viewing. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. So now at this point, what I want to do is save it as, file save as, and you're going to save it as a Photoshop file, so PSD. I'm going to save this in my client file, that's fine, just so that we have a working file. And a working file means you can play around with the layers, you can go in and edit it once you do have layers. You can unlock your background layer when you get in here. If you just save it as a JPEG, it'll just be one flat layer. So now at this point, you can go ahead and, you know, do the things that you want to do to it. You can, you know, go in here and select, let's see here, quick select. You can go in here and, you know, say change the color of, you know, the background. I'm going to do this very quickly so you guys can see this very quick. I'm going to do this super, super quick, so it's not going to be completely accurate as I usually would, but I'm taking the magnetic lasso tool and just selecting his body, around his body with this tool as best as I can, as quick as I can here. And I'm going to choose the yellow road lines as well. And I can go back in here and use the quick mask tool to fix, you know, the details in here. If I went super out of the line, like down here, for instance, I can hit this quick mask mode and take my paintbrush and, oh, I just have to make sure my white is in the front. Scale this down a bit and I can paint over that so I can select it. Hit that again and I can see that he's selected. Now, if I want him to be in color with the lines, but I want the background to go black and white, this is kind of the effect that I want. You need to have, right now he's selected. So if I were to do a quick select, oops, you can see that he's selected, not the background. So what we need to do is inverse it. So we need to go up to, with him selected, we need to go up to select and inverse. And now if I do the quick select, he's no longer selected, he's in red, but the background is. So now I can go ahead and throw a layer, adjustment layer on here. And I can do, let's see, I can do like a hue saturation, and I can take down the saturation of just the background. Pretty cool. So it gives you kind of a really neat effect where he's popping out, he's the focal point, everything else is black and white. When you're ready to save this out, just go File. Oh, we have to check our color mode. Go to CMYK mode, color mode. It's going to merge your layers. So super important. Let's do this here. File, save as. Let's see. We want to do layers. Replace. Okay, this is the Photoshop file. Okay. What I want you guys to do is, let's see, export as, we're gonna do, you typically do a TIFF when you export out for print. I'm not sure how big that file is gonna be, so let's see, let's go File, Save As, a TIFF file, and everything looks good there. Let me go see how big that file is. And how you check that file, let me stop sharing here, is, let me open up my, my views are all weird here, hold on. Okay, Photoshop, let's move out of the way here. I'm gonna quit Photoshop so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. I'm having problems trying to close out. All right, so client 5, the TIFF file, let's go ahead and show you here real quick. Okay, so this is the JPEG. This is the original image that I started with. This is the PSD file. So the PSD file is the layered file. It's 7.4. Then I exported out as a TIFF file to place in Illustrator for your second step, and it's still 7.4. And that's a pretty good size. I mean, I don't think that's too bad. As long as it's not over, I would say like 12 megabytes, you're probably good. But that resizing is super important when it comes to getting your file correct so that it's not such a huge file, and then you're not having issues sending it to your client or even uploading it to Canvas. Okay, well, I hope this helps.